Ronaldo, Rivaldo, Roberto Carlos, Pelé are just the tip of the iceberg of legendary players that Brazil has produced. Even though England is the country where football came from, Brazil is considered the home of the game and the birthplace of many legends. But do you know that there is a player that had a distinct quality of nearly every legendary player and became so famous in Brazil that people started naming their children after him? Well, in case that you already know who this video is about, this is the story of Daner. Let's begin. The tale of Daner isn't a cheerful one, as many might have presumed. Had it been a joyful narrative, most of you would have recognized his name today. Sadly, Daner's life ended at the young age of 23. His impending move to Europe had been finalized just 2 months before the 1994 World Cup kicked off. Ronaldo, whose name was the final addition to that team roster, didn't step onto the field for a single minute during the tournament, yet it significantly altered the course of his career. Many speculate that had Daner been present, his destiny might have mirrored that of Ronaldo's or other iconic players. An emotionally stirring aspect of the research was uncovering how people continue to pay tribute to Daner's memory. There are assertions that even to this day, parents in Brazil choose to name their children in homage to him. Records indicate that prior to his debut for the national team, there were no other individuals bearing his name. However, following his debut, a multitude of children were named after him, especially those born in the years subsequent to his untimely passing. Daner left a profound impact on the populace of Brazil. Those who had the privilege of witnessing his playing style never forgot him. It was reminiscent of beholding the brilliance of a shooting star. In 1986, at the age of 15, Daner, after losing his father, momentarily halted his football pursuits to assist his mother with financial obligations. During a significant youth futsal tournament in his hometown, attended by thousands and broadcasted live, scouting representatives from participating schools sought to recruit youngsters from underprivileged backgrounds. Daner received an offer, which he chose to pursue futsal instead of attending classes, negotiating for higher remuneration as he recognized his innate talent. His remarkable performance in the tournament grabbed the attention of São Paulo and Portuguesa, his beloved childhood club, where he eventually signed a contract. Yet, his upbringing as a kid from the streets presented difficulties. He frequently stayed out late, and his family made it a point to attend every match, concerned about his well-being. Despite being described as easygoing, Daner's friends had a negative influence on him. Incidents involving theft and aggression during matches surfaced, culminating in an arrest due to an alleged armed robbery with his friends. Following the club's intervention, Daner was released, but he perceived it as an act of impunity, leading him to continue on a risky path. His debut for the club impressed many, yet financial hardships prevented him from fully advancing to the first team despite his evident talent. Even though he exhibited skill on the field, financial constraints hindered his progress with Portuguesa. Notably, he even refused to swap his shirt after a match, citing its high cost. Determined to remain at his cherished childhood club, Daner executed a cunning maneuver by feigning a transfer to Belgium, which convinced the club president to extend him a contract. While this tactic might have raised moral questions, it significantly benefited Portuguesa. Shortly after signing, during a Paulist Championship match, Daner scored what stands as the most revered goal in his club's history. Despite the surprise of his teammates, Daner confidently stated that scoring such goals was routine for him during training sessions. His exceptional performances eventually earned him a coveted spot in the national team. In his first game, Daner's enthusiasm drove him onto the field before the other players had left, prompting the referee to restart the procedure. Surprisingly, this hiccup didn't dampen his performance. He played a pivotal role, securing a tie for Brazil in a mere 6 minutes of play. However, the tide turned when Daner missed a crucial match due to a motorcycle injury while attempting daring stunts. The media intensified their criticism, particularly after Brazil's under-23 team failed to qualify for the Olympic Games, unfairly pinning the blame on Daner for their defeat. Despite his undeniable talent, worries surfaced about Daner's lifestyle. Even his own aunt voiced concerns, mentioning that he believed 3 hours of sleep before a game sufficed. For Daner, this was an acceptable routine. While the media raised some valid concerns, it became evident that Daner's unwavering commitment to his game and his unconventional way of life made him a subject of both admiration and criticism. Once, on the eve of a match against Santos, Daner went missing, sparking worry among teammates and the manager. He eventually arrived mere hours before the game, but initially struggled to perform, contributing to a halftime score of 2-0 against his team. The manager held Daner responsible and planned to substitute him, but Daner insisted he would decide when to leave the field. In a remarkable turn of events, Daner rallied his team to a stunning 3-2 comeback. Yet this wasn't sufficient for him. He astounded everyone by scoring a sensational goal, maneuvering past defenders and calmly placing the ball into the net. He then asserted his identity to his teammates, declaring, "I am Tenure, and everyone here must understand this." Despite such exceptional displays, his rebellious reputation persisted. He arrived at training in a car riddled with bullet holes and was once found with a concealed blade, earning him the tag of a brilliant troublemaker. Unfortunately, his reputation as a rebellious figure cost him a spot in the national team, despite praise from legends like Pepe, who likened his talents to that of Pelé. Recognizing the need for a fresh beginning, Tenure orchestrated a 3-month loan with Grêmio, a team he had dreamt of joining for years. The loan tenure proved successful, culminating in a championship win. However, upon his return to Portuguesa, financial constraints made it impossible for the club to afford him any longer. The club's president conceded that Tenure's cost had surpassed that of his teammates, making it challenging to retain him. At a critical point, the club faced insurmountable difficulties in keeping Tenure due to financial limitations. Someone humorously proposed the idea of naming the stadium after him in a playful yet somewhat serious tone, suggesting his ownership. Yet it became increasingly evident that they couldn't sustain his presence for much longer. Then a casual remark from Tenure altered the trajectory of his life. He floated the idea of extending his contract if the club could provide him with a Mitsubishi Eclipse as a signing bonus. Importing cars into Brazil posed significant challenges due to stringent laws, making the Mitsubishi Eclipse a rare and sought-after vehicle. The Mitsubishi Eclipse, adorned with Tenure 10 on its license plate, became his signature. Everywhere he drove, people instantly recognized the distinctive white car, unintentionally drawing attention to himself. Meanwhile, a pivotal event unfolded in Rio de Janeiro that would reshape his destiny. Eurico Miranda, former director of football for the Brazilian national team, approached Jair Pereira, a highly successful manager, to take charge of Vasco de Gama. Jair made signing Tenure his sole condition, astonishing Eurico and finalizing the agreement. For Tenure, joining Vasco presented an opportunity to restore his reputation, secure a spot in the 1994 World Cup squad, and distance himself from his hometown's challengers. His move was strategically aligned with influential figures associated with the national team. However, on his very first training session with Vasco, Tenure's overwhelming eagerness resulted in a humorous slip and fall, eliciting laughter from his new teammates. Nevertheless, his zeal translated effectively onto the field, notably in his debut game against Newell's Old Boys. During this match, Tenure's performance outshone Maradona's return from injury. He skillfully maneuvered past multiple opponents, earning admiration from none other than Maradona himself, who paid a visit to Vasco's locker room to meet the promising young talent. An extraordinary endorsement indeed. Tenure playfully teased his friends about the unexpected acknowledgement from Maradona, relishing the unique experience that set him apart. Even 3 years later, people fondly recalled the instance where the young player had impressed Maradona, although ironically, the match ended without goals despite Tenure's iconic performance. Renowned for his preference for dribbling over scoring, Tenure continued to excel during his tenure at Vasco. Fans hailed his talent, drawing comparisons to legendary players. However, amid his success, Tenure faced personal tragedy. His girlfriend tragically lost her life in a Carnival accident shortly after his Vasco entry. Despite this devastating loss, his exceptional performances within a brief period earned him a lucrative move to Europe with Stuttgart for $3 million. Regrettably, this move never came to fruition. Just days after signing the contract and shortly following his 23rd birthday, Tenure, in a rush to return to Rio from Sao Paulo, met with a fatal accident. Accompanied by a dubious friend named Otto Miranda, Tenure adamantly refused to part with his cherished car. During the journey, Otto fell asleep at the wheel, resulting in a devastating crash. While Otto sustained injuries, Tenure's seating position caused the seatbelt to fatally harm him. The tragic accident profoundly shocked Brazil, and images of Tenure's covered body became widely circulated, making one of the most heart-wrenching moments in Brazilian sports history. To exacerbate the tragedy, it took several years for Tenure's family to receive the $3 million owed to them from his life insurance. Vasco had failed to process the paperwork as they hadn't anticipated the untimely demise of a 23-year-old athlete. Adding to the sorrow, Otto was later the victim of an assassination. The circumstances surrounding Tenure's premature passing and the aftermath remained a profoundly distressing and perplexing chapter in Brazilian sports history.